All right, so um, today we're diving into Agatha Christie's,
Hmm.
and then there were none.
Oh, a classic.
Yeah, and we've got excerpts from the book itself, so we're going to be going right to the source.
Awesome.
10 strangers are invited to this secluded island, each accused of getting away with some past crime,
Mm.
and then they start dying off one by one.
Ooh, spooky.
Is it one of them, or is there someone else on the island?
Uh,
What do you think of that setup?
it's a classic locked room mystery.
Yeah,
But, Christie adds these layers of psychological complexity that make it much more than just a whodunit.
right,
You've got the isolation of the island, the chilling nursery rhyme that foreshadows the deaths,
right?
and then there's that moral question. Can these guests, each with a dark secret, truly escape their pasts?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that island setting for a second.
Okay.
As the guests arrive on Soldier Island,
Mm-hmm.
Chrissy doesn't just describe the scenery, she uses it to create this sense of unease of being trapped.
Right.
What stands out to you about how she sets the stage?
Well, the island itself almost becomes like a character.
Really?
Yeah, menacing and unpredictable.
Wow.
The weather's stormy, the sea is rough.
Oh, I see.
There's just a sense of isolation and danger right from the start.
Mm-hmm.
And that isolation is key because it forces the guests to confront not only the killer in their midst,
Right.
but also their own inner demons.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And she gives us such a diverse cast of characters.
She does.
Vera Claythorne, the young secretary, haunted by that drowning incident.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Lombard, the mysterious adventurer with a revolver.
Yeah, he's a shady one.
And then you've got Mr. Justice Wargrave, the imposing judge.
Ooh, intimidating.
It's like she handpicked them to create this powder keg of personalities.
Exactly. And each guest represents a different aspect of society.
Oh, interesting.
You've got the upper class, the working class, the legal system, the military.
Exactly.
Christie uses these characters to explore broader themes of guilt, class, and the hypocrisy that can lie beneath a veneer of respectability.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. There's a lot going on.
Right from the beginning, there's this chilling nursery rhyme. 10 little soldier boys,
Right.
and each death mirrors a line from it.
Yeah.
Such a simple yet effective way to foreshadow the murders and build suspense.
The nursery rhyme is more than just foreshadowing. It's a psychological weapon.
Okay.
As the guests start dying off, the rhyme becomes this constant reminder of their own mortality,
Right.
their own vulnerability.
I see.
They're trapped in this macabre game, and the rhyme dictates the rules.
It's like the killer is using the rhyme to taunt them,
Absolutely.
wouldn't you say?
Totally.
And then you have that disembodied voice accusing each guest of their specific crime.
Right.
That's got to ramp up the paranoia pretty quickly.
Absolutely. That voice is like the voice of conscience,
Mm-hmm.
forcing them to confront their past sins.
Ooh, that's good.
It's interesting to consider how the accusations play on the societal norms of the time.
Yeah.
Some crimes, like Lombard's, were seen as more acceptable than others, highlighting the moral complexities Christie is exploring.
And they really do try to rationalize the deaths at first.
They do.
Maybe it was suicide, they say, or natural causes.
Right.
But deep down, they know something is terribly wrong.
There's a denial that sets in, a desperate attempt to cling to normalcy in the face of these increasingly bizarre and terrifying events.
Yeah.
The guests are intelligent people, but their ability to reason is slowly eroded by fear and paranoia.
Right.
Christie is masterful at depicting that descent into chaos.
One of the things I find fascinating is how they frantically search for Mr. Owen,
Right.
convinced he must be behind it all.
Yeah.
It's like they need to put a face to the evil to make sense of the senseless.
That search for Mr. Owen is symbolic of their search for answers,
Okay.
for a rational explanation in a situation that defies logic.
Mm-hmm.
But the island is shrouded in mystery, both literally and figuratively.
Right.
And as the fog rolls in, so does the sense that they're losing control, that the game is already out of their hands.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
The early deaths are particularly unsettling.
They are.
Anthony Marston, the first to go,
Mm-hmm.
he's so careless, so arrogant.
Right.
And then he's gone, just like that.
Oof.
And then Mrs. Rogers dying peacefully in her sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost a mercy killing compared to what comes later.
Those early deaths establish the killer's modus operandi.
Right.
Ruthless efficiency,
Mm-hmm.
but also a twisted sense of theatricality.
Interesting.
Each death is staged to fit the rhyme, to send a message.
Yeah.
And the contrast between Marston's quick death and Mrs. Rogers' peaceful one underscores the killer's control,
Right.
their ability to choose how and when their victims will meet their end.
It makes you realize that no one is safe, and the rhyme is like a countdown to their own demise.
Exactly. And as the body count rises, that veneer of civilization starts to crack.
Yeah.
These guests who were initially strangers,
Right.
they're forced into this perverse form of intimacy by their shared fear and suspicion.
You see it in their interactions.
Yeah.
They start turning on each other.
Totally.
The accusations are flying.
Yeah.
Alliances forming and breaking.
Yeah.
It's like the island is stripping away their social masks.
Right.
Revealing the raw instincts underneath.
Precisely. Take General MacArthur, for example.
Okay.
At first, he seems resigned to his fate, almost detached from the unfolding horror.
Right.
But that facade crumbles as the deaths continue.
Yeah.
And we see his fear, his vulnerability, before he too becomes a victim.
His death is a turning point, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
Like the last glimmer of hope is extinguished.
Yeah.
Up until that point, there's this sense that maybe they can figure it out.
Right.
Maybe they can escape.
Escape the island.
But with MacArthur's death, the reality sets in.
Yeah.
They are trapped.
Yeah.
And the killer is in control.
And that sense of control is what makes the killer so terrifying.
Right.
They're not simply reacting.
Mm-hmm.
They're orchestrating. Each death is meticulously planned, timed perfectly to maximize the psychological impact on the remaining guests.
Speaking of psychological impact, let's talk about Emily Brent.
Okay.
She's such a rigid, judgmental character, and yet there's this vulnerability beneath the surface, this deep-seated guilt that she tries to repress.
Emily Brent is a fascinating study in repression and denial.
Okay.
Her strict moral code is a defense mechanism,
Interesting.
a way to distance herself from her own past transgressions.
I see.
But on the island, that facade crumbles.
Right.
And we see the fear and fragility that lie beneath her rigid exterior.
And her death is particularly chilling.
It is.
Found peacefully knitting, a hypodermic needle nearby.
Right.
It's a quiet death,
Yeah.
but it sends shockwaves through the remaining guests.
Absolutely. The discovery of that missing syringe immediately casts suspicion on the doctor,
Right.
who until that point had been a figure of authority and relative trust. It's a brilliant move on the killer's part, sowing discord and deepening the paranoia that's already consuming them.
Lombard, with his revolver, becomes this symbol of survival.
Yeah.
But also of the breakdown of order.
Right.
It's like they're reverting to a primal state, where the only rule is self-preservation.
Lombard represents that raw, instinctual response to danger.
Right.
He's a man of action, used to relying on his own skills to survive.
Right.
But in this situation, even his resourcefulness is no match for the killer's cunning. He becomes a pawn in their game, just like everyone else.
And then there's Justice Wargrave.
Him.
He starts out as this voice of reason, trying to maintain order, to apply logic to the unfolding chaos.
Right.
But as things unravel, we see a darker side to him.
Oh, yeah.
A ruthlessness that's almost more unsettling than Lombard's open aggression.
Wargrave embodies the conflict between law and justice,
Good.
a theme that runs throughout Christie's work.
Interesting.
He believes in the law, but he's also deeply disillusioned with its limitations. On the island, he sees an opportunity to impose his own brand of justice,
Right.
to become the ultimate arbiter of right and wrong.
It's like he's taking the law into his own hands.
Exactly.
Becoming judge, jury, and executioner.
And that's what makes him such a compelling yet terrifying figure.
Right.
Exactly. He represents the seductive power of righteousness, the danger of believing that one person can hold the moral high ground and dispense justice without accountability.
Right, yeah.
It's a theme that resonates deeply even today.
The way Christie builds the suspense is masterful.
It is.
Every time you think you figured it out,
Right.
she throws in another twist.
Yeah.
Another clue that leads you down a different path.
She's a master of misdirection.
Yeah.
Planting red herrings, playing with our expectations.
Right.
But the clues are always there.
Okay.
Subtly woven into the narrative.
I see.
It's a challenge to the reader, an invitation to become an active participant in the unraveling of the mystery.
It really does make you question your own perceptions, doesn't it?
It does.
As the reader, you're trying to solve the puzzle along with the guests.
Right.
But Christie is always one step ahead.
That's the genius of her writing.
Yeah.
She understands how to manipulate the reader's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
how to lead us down the garden path with false assumptions and carefully placed clues.
Right.
It's a literary game of cat and mouse,
Yeah.
and she's a master of the craft.
And then, of course, there's the ending.
Oh, yeah.
Without giving too much away,
Right.
It's safe to say it's a revelation that leaves you breathless.
Yeah.
All the pieces fall into place.
Uh-huh.
And yet, it's still a shock when the killer's identity is revealed.
The confession is a masterpiece of psychological insight.
Right.
We finally understand the killer's motivations.
Okay.
Their twisted sense of justice.
Yeah.
The meticulous planning that went into their elaborate scheme.
Wow.
It's both horrifying and strangely compelling.
Mm.
This glimpse into the mind of a criminal mastermind.
And it's not just about who the killer is.
Right.
It's about why they did it.
Exact.
What drove them to such extremes.
You're right.
That's what makes this novel so thought-provoking.
It really is.
It's not just a mystery.
Uh-huh.
It's an exploration of human nature.
Yeah.
Of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly ordinary people.
Exactly. And then there were none. Forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves. About our capacity for both good and evil.
Right.
It asks questions about the nature of justice.
Yeah.
The consequences of our actions.
Right.
The weight of guilt and the seductive power of revenge.
There's that line in the epilogue that always sticks with me.
Okay.
And they will find 10 dead bodies and an unsolved problem on Soldier Island.
Ooh, interesting.
It's almost like Christie is suggesting that there's more to the story than meets the eye.
That line is pure brilliance.
Yeah.
It adds a layer of ambiguity. A lingering question that stays with the reader long after the book is closed. Is the case truly closed? Or is there something we've missed?
It makes you wonder.
It's an invitation to re-examine the evidence,
Right.
to question our own assumptions.
It's a reminder that even in the face of seemingly irrefutable evidence,
Yeah.
there's always room for doubt, for alternative interpretations.
Right.
And that, I think, is part of the enduring appeal of Agatha Christie's work.
I agree.
She doesn't give us easy answers. She challenges us to think for ourselves.
And that's why, decades after it was first published,
Yeah.
and then there were none, continues to resonate with readers.
It really does.
It's a thrilling mystery, a psychological puzzle,
Yeah.
and a timeless exploration of the human condition.
So if you're looking for a book that will keep you on the edge of your seat,
Right.
challenge your perceptions, and leave you pondering the complexities of human nature,
Absolutely.
I highly recommend diving into And Then There Were None.
It's a journey into the heart of darkness.
Yeah.
A testament to the power of storytelling, and a reminder that even in the most isolated corners of the world,
Right.
the human drama unfolds in all its complexity and intrigue.
Well, that was a great deep dive.
It was fun.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep